All right, good evening, everybody. Welcome to the Connection Hangout. Tonight is the Corporate Connection. We've got a very special guest we're going to introduce here in just a minute, but to do some housekeeping first off, everyone, the corporate or the Connection Hangout, this is not a business presentation. It is not a product presentation. If you'd like more information on the products or technology behind ASEA, ask the person who invited you here to be on this Hangout, and they'd be more than happy to provide you with that information. Some of you may see a more info button underneath the screen, so when we're done, you can go ahead and click on that more info button and be taken to more information. Also, we do have a comment section underneath the screen, so if you'd like to just chime in, say where you're viewing from, we'd love to hear from you. Now what I'd like to do is introduce my co-host from Marietta, Georgia, who's going to be introducing tonight's guest, David Asarno. How are you doing, David?
I'm doing awesome. You having a good day?
Yeah, fantastic. It's been a little bit warmer than it was last week out here, but it's still under 115, so I think we're
well, if you're under 115 and we're in the high 90s, that's about equal.
It's about equal, right? Get the humidity factor going on.
Exactly.
So you've been still training out there? I know you were doing some hardcore training last week. You still?
I'm working twice a day now. I'm swimming in the morning, CrossFitting at night, and yes, I am. And
awesome.
I entered a competition the end of October, so I've got to get really in shape before my 47th birthday.
Oh, fantastic. What is it, like a triathlon or something?
It's a CrossFit competition around Atlanta.
Oh, okay, okay.
I'm in the Masters division.
Oh, no, Masters. That's like
the best way of saying you're old.
Oh, no, mature. We're mature, right? It's, they used to say seniors. Now you're just mature.
Exactly.
All right. Well, and it's kind of interesting. Before you introduce tonight's guest, I know seeing her in some of the gyms, when we go to certain events, it's great to see her too. So I'm sure she'd have something to chime in on the physical fitness space as well. So why don't you bring her on?
Well, absolutely. Well, our special guest today is Becky Cox. She's the Managing Director of Marketing for ASEA. Now, Becky has an MBA from the Marriott School of Management, and she brings over 15 years of industry experience to ASEA's corporate team. Now, Becky's experience includes corporate marketing, corporate sales positions at top network marketing companies across the world, including 3 years in Moscow, Russia as their general manager. In addition, Becky spent 4 years in the field as an independent distributor where she achieved the rank of diamond. So welcome, Becky.
Thanks. There you go. I was waiting for a call. Yeah, I was going to chime in when you guys were talking. Wait till you do a triathlon and you get categorized as Athena, which really I don't think has anything to do with age. It's based around weight.
Athena, though.
Athena.
That's like that's like goddess. That means you're a goddess.
I don't know. The male equivalent of that is Clydesdale. So I'm a female Clydesdale apparently when it comes to these races. You think they could do better with that, huh? Like, hey, you're alive or something. Instead we get Athena.
You're older and you're crushing it.
Yeah. Hey, I'm finishing. That's the Athena I won. Is I made it across the line. So
right. I've actually, my brother-in-law and sister do Ironmans, or my brother Ironmans, and my sister's now doing triathlons. So my brother-in-law gave me his old road bike, so I fixed up and started riding that too.
That's awesome. That makes a huge difference. When I went from a mountain bike to a road bike, I was like, hey, it's like losing 50 pounds. It's awesome.
Still getting
fun.
into it.
Yeah.
So Becky, I mean, obviously we're getting to know each other here. So why don't we get to know a little bit more about you on a personal level, about your family, what hobbies or passion drives you as a person? Obviously, I hear a little bit exercise, workout, triathlons.
Yes. Well, I'm not going to say I'm good at them, but I do them to try and keep myself alive a few years longer. I love running in particular. I would be probably more of a Clydesdale than a gazelle, I guess, if you're looking at categories. But I like to run. I can run a long ways. I'm not a fast runner. So always have been interested in health, fitness, and wellness. My undergraduate degree is a double major, actually, in Russian language and nutrition. So always have been interested in that. And started out my career just on the marketing side with product marketing with some nutraceuticals at a large network marketing company here in Utah. So I always have been interested in that. My real passion is around product, and so that's led me in different areas. But honestly, my last gig before I came to ASEA was in the field, and so I say that to give you an idea of how much I left behind. You guys know how good you have it. I left that behind to come to ASEA because something about the product was so compelling. I just couldn't stop thinking about all the potential that the product and the technology had, and talking about it, writing about it, putting together materials to help people understand it. That's something that I get personally a lot of gratification from. So I'm really enjoying my role here at ASEA. I hope I'm making a difference. I think that there is a lot to do just based on the complexity of the product and the age of the company. So it's been really fun for me and really satisfying to see you guys' response of other people in the field who are really kind of doing the same thing that we are here, trying to help people understand the product and appreciate it.
Awesome. Thank you.
Super. So let's talk a little bit more about that. Again, for folks not clear on what Becky has went through, she started out in marketing for a company and then actually shifted over, became a distributor, and built that position to the level of what we would call a diamond here at ASEA. How do you what makes you make that decision, and how do you go about doing that?
Well, that was a really personal decision for me. I'm a person who likes sort of the grind, I guess you could say. So for me, it was more of when I started my own business, and I'm sure both of you will understand this, for me, it wasn't less work. For me, it was more work. I'm a much more demanding boss of myself than I would ever be for anyone else, or any boss could be of me. But for me, it was interesting to see, having talked about building a business, having created materials for building businesses, interesting to see, could I build a business that was successful? My husband has his own business, several actually, so we're very entrepreneurial anyway, and that was at a time when I did want a little bit more life flexibility. My kids were really active and in the middle of their kind of middle school, early high school years, and I was spending a lot of time at work, which I didn't mind. I liked my job, I liked what I was doing, but I needed to be home more. I had a grandmother who needed a lot of care, and I couldn't provide that because I had a lot of work to do at work. So I transitioned over, built the business, super fun, so much work. I don't think anyone who hasn't built a business like this has any clue of how much work it really is. And that's not to discourage those of you who are building. You understand that it's not a get rich quick. There's no easy ride here. You put your time in, and with this job you have the benefit that it's going to keep paying long after you back off on the hours and time that you're spent doing it. But really fun. I felt like I was successful. I actually went to work in the field for the company that I had previously been working for, so I had a huge advantage, right? Although I will say that the owners and the corporate management of that company were not very nice to me because they were worried about appearing nepotistic, so they didn't do me any favors. But still really fun. I look back on that time and the connections I made. I'm still in touch with those people that I work with there, and just with real fondness. But again, a lot of passion for what I'm doing now, and so it's hard to choose when you have a lot of really great options.
That's fantastic. Now, you have made a big impact on the direction of marketing at ASEA in a very short period of time, especially in the area of messaging and pulling some tools and strategies together. Now, corporate just announced this week that these strategies are going to be unveiled at the Envision conference. Can you share some highlights maybe of what the attendees look forward to, why it's important for the business to be in Envision?
Yeah, so that's actually going to be a really important meeting for us. I mean, we're establishing some messaging fundamentals right now that will carry us through the next 5, maybe even 10 years. And so to have an understanding of that's really going to give you an edge in your business. And also, not just so that you're doing the same thing corporate is, but because we're spending a lot of time trying to understand what successful messaging is occurring in the field right now. So we're looking at our successful leaders like Paul, like Sue, and we're trying to mesh what they're doing into a corporate message so that everyone can benefit from that expertise. And so understanding what that is, I think it's going to go a long way towards helping. Everybody has to personalize the message, right? I'm always going to have sort of a fitness wellness take on what I talk about with ASEA because that's what I love and that's the impact that ASEA's had on me, and someone else may have more of a skin story. Obviously, there's room for that kind of personal passion in this business messaging. But to understand what's working for the most successful people at our company, I think everyone can agree is going to be really important. And in specific, at Envision, we're going to be talking about opportunity messaging. And we've spent a lot of time on it. We wanted to be ready at convention with this, but we really we hadn't assimilated all the information. And so we've taken our time and really done it right. And so you're going to see the first pieces of that at Envision. You're not going to see everything, but you will see the first pieces. And the main thing that you're going to see is an opportunity PowerPoint that's built along, as I said, these sort of messaging pillars that successful leaders at our company are using. Paul should be very familiar with those. In fact, a lot of them are coming from the messaging that Paul and Sue are using. So I think it's exciting. The PowerPoint itself is going to be exciting. It's really professional. We've got a great team of designers working on it, and it'll get better. By Envision, you should see something that's pretty exciting. And that messaging flow, that conversation, that opportunity presentation will be something you see mirrored in the brochure going forward, in a video going forward. You're going to see that kind of blown out through all these different media at our company. So you can see why it would be so important that we got it right. So I think it's going to be super exciting. On top of that, we have some other interesting stuff going on at Envision. First of all, Tyler Norton is going to be doing, I think we'll touch on this, maybe there's a question about this. Tyler Norton's going to be doing his Ethos Academy, which is unprecedented, an entire day. And I think we'll institutionalize that, and you'll see that going forward in more video form and trainers doing that instead of Tyler himself, just because he's so busy and so successful. So if it were me, I would make sure to be there for that. That's the day before Envision, and I would make sure as many people on my team, especially your up-and-comers, your rock stars, get to that presentation and get to Envision.
So along that lines, again, and this is really good stuff, because there's a few people out there that are still maybe on the fence and haven't registered yet for Envision, but getting a good sense of like why they need to be there, as far as they're going to get some real world tools they can use, especially with regards to communicating and educating people with a new presentation and signaling the right messaging, right?
Right.
And I'm sure everything too, which I know a lot of people have a fear of, is making sure that we're doing a compliant message as well.
Absolutely.
So all that's going to be, included, and of course you mentioned the Ethos Academy. From what I understand, that's going to be a full day.
It's a full day. Yeah, and there's no additional cost. I mean, I know it's a sacrifice for the flying and for the hotel rooms, but as far as the company charging you to try and recover some of the cost to us on some of this, we're not charging anything. So,
and I'll tell people out there, Tyler goes and speaks for huge corporations, Fortune 500, Fortune 50 type corporations, and you're talking generally it's six figures to have him show up and do sessions. So for us to be blessed with him being one of our founders and coming out and offering that additional full day, I think is phenomenal. So everyone should take advantage of that.
And as I said, I've had the pleasure of sitting with Tyler for a couple of days as we videoed and took notes, and we're really going to be institutionalizing the ASEA ethos, which I think is a huge advantage to us, and I can talk about that more later. But he's just so inspiring, and not because of him himself. He himself personally is an inspiring person, but his message, it's really introspective. When you listen to him talk, you immediately start thinking about yourself and what you're doing and how you can improve it and how that message applies to you and how it applies to your team. And it is a soft message. It's not a hard business message, but it's so important. It's so important. When you look at people that succeed in our industry and in our company, they reflect these principles that he's talking about. So yeah, it's good to make yourself a better person, but more than that, it's about achieving success and what the core principles you need to embrace in order to achieve that success and duplicate it are. It's really impactful messaging. It's something I've never seen in another company. There just is nothing else out there like this, and it's such a big advantage for us at this company.
Well, along that lines, I think one of, we have a lot of great leadership here at ASEA, but I'll tell you, the next level, and where Tyler really takes it to the next level, is being able to articulate, the reasons and the characteristics.
Absolutely.
And I'm sure you sat when you sit with them, Becky, and you get to have some sort of open conversations. Like, hey, have you ever had somebody who was like this, or they just couldn't get to the next spot? Why is that? No matter how much books they read or whatever, how many books they read or seminars they've went to, what's going on up here? And so to be able to define that and articulate that. Really not only empowers the individual, but helps them and us as leaders to empower other people, and to be by articulating that. I think it's really powerful.
I totally agree with you. Here's a funny thing. My husband's a psychotherapist. I mentioned he has a couple of businesses, and he is actually in private practice for himself. People pay him a lot of money to sit with him for an hour and get help on their problems, right? So when we have a problem, we might go to a therapist and pay them, or our insurance company pays them to sit for an hour, maybe once a week, and work on this problem, right? Well, when I have a business issue, I don't go hire, most people don't go hire a therapist to sit with them and go through this stuff. But these principles that Tyler's talking about, that's what it is. It's like a personal therapist for your business. You see in your head, oh my gosh, that's what's wrong with what I'm doing right now, and that's how to correct it. And so you immediately walk away with these practical kind of pieces of information that are going to help you craft and then duplicate that success throughout your business. So anyone who's seen him or heard any of these principles, the Ubuntu, the flow, you know exactly what I'm talking about. It's just so impactful and so important. So I'm really excited about that. Like I say, you just don't see that at network marketing companies, and you certainly don't see it institutionalized the way we're going to do it here. So super exciting.
Good stuff. Good stuff.
Awesome. Now, Becky, let's talk a little bit about international. How do we keep track of 25 countries? And from what I hear, it's going to be growing soon.
Well, I can't comment about that, but yes.
Just between friends here.
Yes, and everyone on YouTube. Yes, it is going to be growing, and that's really exciting. I'll be honest with you, we launched it, but we had a hustle before convention to get what we got done accomplished, and we've been running ever since then to try and push that out to the other markets, and I think we've been able to do that into the other languages, and quite honestly, there are cultural accommodations that we make for markets as well. On top of that, you have compliance issues, because even though we have a redox supplement here in the US, we have redox balance in Canada, for example, where we don't categorize the practice. So there's a lot going on there. And I think the company is committed to making sure we support these international markets. In fact, they're getting really strategic about it. I think you're going to see sort of tiers of markets going forward, so people have a clear expectation about what they're going to get when a market is a certain size, instead of waiting and waiting and waiting. They'll know when we get to X amount of sales, we are entitled to have these pieces of material to help us grow. And so that's really the direction the company's been going. And that's good for us, because we have an understanding of what we need to produce when. These are all logistical things, but I will say the level of support that you're going to see from ASEA towards even some of these smaller international markets is increasing, and you can attribute that to the executive committee. And by executive committee, I mean Jerem and Chuck and Kurt. You can attribute that to their commitment financially and emotionally to supporting the business builders in these markets that are struggling because they don't have a full set of tools like we have here in the US. So that's exciting and a lot of work, and just still, though, very satisfying, because how do you tell a story without a brochure? How do you tell a story without a video?
And I had heard too, you guys are getting better, or putting more of a focus too on localization, and getting like the local markets, people that live there, and the culture, because you can Google Translate and translate something, and people reading go, what is that? That doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, that doesn't work so well for us. Yeah, we are. We're trying to partner more with the field to do that. For example, if we have a market where the sales are still small, it's still growing, we understand you need to have materials. It doesn't matter to the person you're trying to explain ASEA to that we're still small in Canada, right? And so we've been trying to partner with the field and share that burden. They're benefiting from the fact that they're in an underdeveloped market. There's more potential there for them. And so in many cases, these field leaders are willing to invest time in helping us with translations and some of these other things that the company really can't make a business case for doing. And we've already been doing that with Canada, and I expect to see a lot more of that going forward. It's really, I hate to fall back on these old business sort of cliches, but it really is a win-win. I mean, there really is some synergy there when we cooperate with each other. We have resources in-house that are available at certain times. If we have a translation ready to go, it's really quick to roll it in and then get a proof on it. So we've been working on some of those no-brainers to really sort of maximize what we can do for the smaller markets. And I think, as I said, you'll be seeing more support going out to them in the future.
Super. Along those lines, as we're kind of getting close to the end of the Hangout here, what's your bigger, maybe longer term vision for the marketing? What are some things you can share with us going forward here?
Well, I will tell you something that I'm really passionate about is having sort of flashpoints throughout the year. The flashpoints for ASEA will be convention and Envision. So you just need to plan on having those on your calendar. As soon as you get the date, start telling your team. We are going to see things like product launches, announcement. We're holding key business announcements and explorations for those 2 meetings. So you're going to definitely want to do that going forward. Also, we know when we get people to meetings, we know things like base camp, those meetings. We know that people hit rank more, faster, they enroll more. We know that. We've done the research now. We've seen the statistics. When your people get to events, especially Envision, they're going to be more successful long term. So if you're invested in the success of yourself and your people, those are some key things you need to do. You need to plan on being at those events, not all of them, but for sure Envision and Convention. Plan on getting your people to base camp when they qualify, get them to Ascent when they qualify. And we're looking at ways to make that more feasible for people in different markets other than the U.S. and also for people in the United States. So that's something that's going to get really exciting. I'm trying to think of a nice way to say this. I've been at companies that have been more product-focused companies, and so they haven't been super hypey companies. And I don't love a lot of extraneous hype, but I will say I think we can hype things up a little bit at ASEA. So you're going to see a little bit more of that. We're never going to get froopy and stupid, right? We're never going to tell people to make what they're worth and prance camels across the stage. But we're going to make things a little hypier. So I think that's something to look forward to.
Cool.
Sorry if anyone came from the company where they had the camels. Probably you never would come here from that company, so we're probably good.
Oh, you mean I'm not going to get to do my Tom Vu impression on a yacht with like 14 women in bikinis around? Oh, man.
Yeah, we probably won't ever go to that extreme, but we're going to do some flash.
Well, you could do that.
Anyway.
I could do Tom Vu.
The men are all fine with the bikinis. Yeah, we're not going to have the bikinis. Sorry. We could have Athena bikinis. No, we couldn't.
What was the other? There was the
Caitlin bikini.
Athena and what
no.
What was the other thing?
Just no bikinis on anyone. It doesn't matter who.
Okay, so let's hear about your personal story. Speaking about bikinis, what's the product done for you?
You know, that's an interesting thing. My first experience with Renew was a skin experience. I know enough about science, and you guys will be kind of familiar with this, that the second I heard what ASEA was, I was interested but a little hesitant to start taking it. So I started out with Renew, and this was long before I even started working for ASEA. I started out with Renew, and I also have done this a few times. So I took a picture of myself, and then I started using Renew, and every 3 or 4 days I took pictures of myself again. And I have, like every woman, little spots that I don't like, and so I had focused in on those. I took some really good before pictures, and I'm telling you, within like 3 weeks, I saw a significant change in my skin. And again, I've worked for skincare companies. I feel like I'm a fairly sophisticated skincare consumer, but I was noticing some real differences. So I immediately started telling everyone I knew, you can't believe this product. And there's, funny, in my neighborhood, we're a tight-knit community, and there's probably 10 girls in my neighborhood that are using Renew 28 for acne now, because I was like, I haven't had a zit for like 3 weeks. So I'm just a talker that way, right? Anyway, so I had a skin experience, and now this is an interesting thing. My dad, okay, I know this is being recorded, but this is a personal experience in my family. My dad has skin cancer. He's a redhead. He was raised in Tucson, Arizona, and so he's been through several different rounds of skin cancer treatment, which are horrific if you know anything about those drugs that they use. They're just terrible and painful. And so I had him using the products of my previous company, which I think are pretty helpful, and then had him start using Renew 28. And he was kind of forgetting to use the other products because the impact wasn't really significant. It still was a good impact. But he used Renew and had a really amazing experience where he, you know, he's going in every 3 months to have his dermatologist look for lesions, these little precancerous lesions that pop up. Once he started using Renew, he had nothing. He went back in, the doctor was like, wait, how long has it been since you've been in? Like, my dad, who's a crusty old retired Air Force colonel, was just flabbergasted. And of course he loves it. It doesn't smell, it's not greasy. It's just a really great product for him. So we've all been really grateful in my family, my siblings, that we've had Renew for him, because it's made such a big difference for him on his skin. And then, sorry, this is a really long, I could talk forever about these products. I had a really great experience when I started taking ASEA redox supplement as well. And that was sort of based on just, you know, women my age, personal things that happened, but I also noticed a difference there. So yeah, great experience with the product.
Fantastic. Fantastic. Yeah, we love it. We love them. I mean, it's another, as you know, being in this industry for as long as you have, just one of the amazing rewards of being able to
Absolutely.
hear all this. It's great. You know, when I was in the computer field, no one ever came up to me crying and saying, "Oh, my mouse works so much better now."
It's true, isn't it?
So it's really, really neat to see how it impacts people's lives. So thanks for sharing that with us, Becky.
Absolutely.
And thanks for being with us today. We really appreciate you taking the time. I know you got a real tight schedule, so thanks so much.
Yeah, super fun to be with you guys. Oh, there we go. Always fun.
Absolutely. And special thanks to David Asarno, my co-host as well.
And a huge round of applause for Paul Tyra for pulling this together as he does every week.
Now, before I take that full round of applause,
Paul didn't play the applause for himself.
Well, I got to do it in conjunction with Sue Brenchley, because really, Sue, you produced this particular show. You know, we got all running around, and she really took the ball. And you know, we had a cancellation and trying to get all the guests realigned, the schedules and stuff. I know Becky had a tight schedule, so I really got to give it up for Sue Brenchley for helping us out and then taking the production on for this show. Thanks so much, Sue.
Yay, Sue.
And again, everyone, thanks for tuning in. We've got some athletes coming up here in the next Connection episodes. We've got Gerard-Louis Robert. We've got Brian McChrystal from Team ASEA Ireland. So be sure to stay plugged in. If you're not on our mailing list, go to teamreactive.com and you'll get all the updates as soon as we receive them. Thanks again, everyone, for tuning in. Go out, have a fantastic rest of your evening, rest of the week, and I'll see you later. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.
Take care.
Bye.